So this is happening. I don't really know how to start this video. This is not the video I usually do make. I just saw this on Twitter and thought it was very interesting. The FTC. I don't know what exactly it stands for. I know it's an American company, and this is basically, by the way, this is basically only for America. FTC says Genshin Impact deceives children and orders its publishers to pay up a 20 million fine and stop selling loot boxes to kids. Which is, I assume they mean loot boxes as in the Genesis crystals, I assume? Or is it this? It must be, right? I assume the Genesis crystals are the loot boxes, or it's the packages or whatever. But this is basically an article from PC Gamer. I'm currently on the UK edition, so yeah. Genshin Impact publisher Cognosphere, blah blah blah, another game for Hoyoverse agrees to pay $20 million fine and will block children under the age of 16 from making in-game purchases without parental consent in the settlement with the US Federal Trade Commission. Okay, so that's the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, over allegations that it violates the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA, and deceive children and other users about the real cost of in-game transactions and the odds of obtaining rare prizes. Which is, I'm not quite sure what they mean by this, because technically it does say the odds of you getting the limited 5-star. I assume maybe they would mean getting the exact character. So if my week is currently out, so I assume they would want you in a way to specify, maybe I'm just talking out my ass here, by the way. So I don't know, maybe they want you to specify like, this is the odds of getting Mavuika, this is the odds for getting Kaching. If you were to lose the 50-50, this is the odds for you getting Chi-Chi, Tainari, Diluc, or Dea, whatever, Jean, whatever it else, Mona. This is the odds for that. This is the odds for you getting a weapon from the same banner or whatever. Maybe they want you to be like super specific in the percentages they have. I don't know about that, but already there's a bit of a problem here. Deceive children and other users about the real cost of in-game transactions. I assume they mean deceiving about in-game transactions in a way of using Genesis crystals. But Genesis crystals and Primogems, which is the in-game currency, obviously have a 1-to-1 conversion, which you can see if you just press the Primogems, like plus sign, and convert them. But maybe they should, in this case, specify that more. It said where on the store page example it says 1 Genesis crystals equals 1 Primogem, whatever. But this also made me quite intrigued by the, as you can see, Genshin age rating, because I was like, children deceived. So I assume they mean children in like people under the age of 18, right? I would assume that is what it means. And according to this, Genshin Impact has an age rating of 12, which is not that low, but not that like high, or how to say it, like it's not. I assume it had the age rating of 12 because of the gacha aspects, but I'm not entirely sure how they get these PEGI 12 ratings. Or I search up FIFA as well, because I know FIFA has that very, very, very predatory gacha system in that way. And apparently they have PEGI 3, which is, I mean, not that I think a 3-year-old would spend money on FIFA or even have the capabilities to spend money on FIFA. But I assume, because I know in FIFA, I don't play the new FIFA, but back in the day, they obviously changed the FIFA so that you have now a preview pack. And if you don't play FIFA, this will literally make no sense. But they have a preview pack now where you can see what player you will get, and you can also open a different one, which is completely random. But by the way, you can't buy a card in FIFA. You have to put in money to buy FIFA points to then open packs with a chance of getting that character. And it doesn't specify the odds of you getting that character. But either way, I just thought that was pretty funny. And I did also watch Mr. Pokey's video about this, which is basically the reason why I'm making as well. Like, 'cause I just thought it was really interesting. What he said, something that resonated with is like, which parents lets their kids just have the credit card information on their phones? Because let's be real, like I work at a school part time as a, like I guess you just part time. That's just what I call it. And there are kids there who are like 9, 8, 7, 8, 9 years old who have the newest iPhone. Like they have the iPhone 14, iPhone 15 Pros. Like they have these phones. And if you as the adult allow your kid to have like your credit card information on their phone, you're already messed up. Like, I'm not gonna lie, you already messed up. And if I had a friend actually in the past that did something like this, not in a gacha game, but it was like similar game similar to like Clash of Clans or whatever, where he was on a flight and he played on the iPad, and he didn't really get that he was spending real life money on the credit card. So he just kept on buying and buying and buying and buying and buying until like he spent over like I think it was $1,000 or something like that. They did manage to get a refund on that, by the way, so I don't really know how that worked out. But that might be the similar thing they're referring to, although I think my friend honestly was using that as a bit of an excuse, like I didn't know. I think he kinda knew, but he just didn't want to say it. I'm gonna keep it 100. Would you? I think he knew, but he just didn't want to say it. But either way, this is not in a way like trying to protect Toyo's, because they can easily pay the $20 million fine. Like they make more than that from Genshin alone, let alone what they make from Honkai Star Rail and ZZZ and everything else. Like they can easily pay this. There's no problem at all. Because obviously we'll see later on in the article what a certain other company paid. But either way, I just want to bring that up. By the way, if you allow your kids to have your credit card information on their phone or PC, you already messed up, buddy. But I don't know whether this is just modern time kids, because I assume when they mean kids, I do assume they mean kids at like the age of 12. I assume that maybe till 16, maybe. Like I don't really know which age group since they don't really specify. Oh my god, English. They just say children. But either way, yeah, you already messed up there, buddy. Because if I had done this back in the day, my ass would have been whooped. If I even bought a single thing, let alone like a video game thing. Like, even when I would use my mom's credit card back in the day to buy certain things for my own money, they would be like, why though? Why are you buying this? Like, what game is this for? What are you doing in the game? Like, they would ask these questions. Maybe that's not how it works in modern day, but either way, I just want to mention that you're kind of messed up, buddy. Although Congosphere has accepted the fine and says that many of the FTC's allegations are inaccurate, well, I assume they mean in like the odds thing and certain things like that, because I think in China it is mandatory to have the odds up. Maybe I can't really remember, but I think that most of the odds are up there, and it's kind of obvious how the Genesis crystal work. You buy it for real money, it says in the currency you're playing in. But either way, that's besides points. A complaint filed by the US Department of Justice alleged that Congosphere operated as a Hoyoverse in the US, yes. I mean, actively marketing Genshin Impact to children and collected personal information from them in violation of COPPA rules, deceived players about the odds and costs of winning prizes in loot boxes, which I assume they mean is the gacha banners in this case. It must be winning prizes in loot boxes, which must be gacha banners, what they're referring to, which I don't really think is that accurate, honestly. Like, I don't think it's necessarily inaccurate. It could definitely be more specific in saying, like, instead of saying these are the 4 stars, these are the 5 stars, I guess you could say like the specific odds of getting that 4-star and 5-star. Problem is that a child is not going to understand that either way. If we're being 100% honest, a child is not going to understand if it says like, and be able to calculate the odds of you getting specifically everything. If you have like 100 pools or whatever, like they're not going to be able to calculate the odds of you getting Shangling on the standard banner in a way, like if we're being completely honest here. But obviously, yes, they could make it for everybody else way more out there, the specific odds and things like that, which I'm I'm assuming that's what they're referring to here. I'm not entirely sure, but I think a complaint was filed actively marketing Genshin Impact to children. I think that's also actively marketing Genshin Impact to children. I don't really know about that. I think that is also stretching it a bit. Like, is it is it specifically marketed towards children? I don't know in the US, but not where I'm from. It's not marketed towards children, so uh, I don't know. But again, I don't live in the US. Maybe it's different there. Collecting personal information, I don't know much about that, but that's obviously not that great. But then again, you do agree to terms of service when you start playing the game. Uh, Maybe it's because they don't have the parents' consent because of the COPPA rules violation, whatever. But maybe that's that. And they need the parents' confirmation that because they're underage to basically be like, yeah, you're allowed to play this game or whatever. But either way, blah, 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 loot boxes and uses a challenging and confusing purchasing system that misleads customers about the amount of money that the player spends on loot boxes on an ongoing basis, and the amount of money that the player would likely need to spend to obtain certain prizes. I don't. Again, I think this is somewhat true, but not entirely. Like, I know how much money you need to spend to get a 5-star character. Could they make it way more obvious? Yes, they could add, like, they have it in CCC actually, a counter that says, hey, you have this many pulls until you reach a guaranteed 5-star. You have this many pulls until you reach a guaranteed 4-star. Could they add that in Genshin Impact and HSR? Absolutely. I'm not gonna say they shouldn't. In fact, they should do that. It's very nice if you play CCC to have that. But in a way, it does also make you feel like, oh, I really want to pull now. Like, I'm gonna get this character. I'm gonna do it. Maybe they should also mention whether you have a guarantee or not. But misleading amount of money, I'm not sure about that. Like, I'm not sure about that. Like, sure, if you're a child, but then again, if you're a child, should you be putting in money into games unless you're rich? No, like, you shouldn't. It doesn't matter what game it is, whether it is Genshin, Star Rail, FIFA, Clash Royale, or whatever mobile games they're playing. Deep Love Space, WoWa, like, it doesn't really matter. Counter-Strike, like, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't be doing it either way. So, I, again, I think that that's a bit harsh, but there are certain truths in this, and definitely things that Hoyoverse could be looking to update or make more user friendly, customer friendly, consumer friendly, I guess the word is. They definitely could do that. So yeah, I think maybe as an adult, as someone, I'm 22 years old by the way, so maybe for an adult like me, this is not a big problem. Like, this is obviously not a problem. I can calculate this. I studied I mean, I live in Sweden, so I have gymnasium. I studied economy there and the law, so this is not a big problem for me. I can calculate these things. But then again, for people that are according to age rating, so I would assume you are at least 12 years old to play this game. Between the ages of 12 to, I mean, at 18, I expect 17, I expect you to be able to calculate this, by the way. Even at 16, I expect you to do it, even at maybe at 15. But let's say between the ages of 12 and 15, you might have struggles doing this, and you might need a parent's consent, especially if you're 12, by the way, to play this game. Sorry if you heard the vacuum in the background, by the way. But either way, yeah. So yeah, could they make it way more consumer friendly? Yes. And I think they're gonna do that because they have agreed to pay the fine. But this again, I think it's only gonna be in the United States. I think if you're anywhere else in the world, this is not gonna be implemented. Fairly sure, not entirely sure though. They might implement it in every region, but I don't think they will. Genshin Impact deceives children, teens, and other players into spending hundreds of dollars on prizes they so little chance of winning, said Samuel Levine, director of the FTC Bureau of Consumer Protection. And other players, I assume other players are adults. Genshin Impact deceived children, teens, and other players into spending hundreds of dollars on prizes they so little chance of winning. But then again, it does say the chance of you winning if you check the details of getting a mob weak. I think it's 0.6% off the top of my head. It does say that. It does say also after this amount of pulls, you are guaranteed. If you were to lose a 50-50, you are guaranteed. I assume what this Samuel Levine means is that he wants it more apparent on this starting ban or whatever. He wants it to be there instead of clicking on details and then looking. But then again, I think that's a bit harsh, but I kind of get the angle. If you're trying to solely protect children, I don't know whether they, because I don't actually know. I was gonna say because they're Chinese and don't like Chinese in the United States, but that's not actually super true. And that's very, like, I can't say that. Speculation, don't sue me. Yeah. At first I thought that, but then I also read down here Epic Games. I don't know where Epic Games is from, by the way, so not gonna say anything about that. But then again, I think it's a bit harsh, like all the other things, but there are certain truths to it, definitely. Companies that deploy these dark pattern tactics will be held accountable if they deceive players, particularly kids and teens, about the true cost of in-game transactions. But then again, I would kind of like to know what is the quote-unquote correct way, according to Samuel Levine, about how these companies should market it. Because if they have it in details section and the kids don't look at it, is it the consumer's fault or is it the company's fault? That's what basically I'm trying to weigh here. And I think it's a bit of, and I'm not someone that tends to protect these big companies because, I'm gonna be honest, they could also be way more generous. But if you don't check the details, and it's like if you sign the terms of service, example, and you don't read the terms of service, and there's some clause in there that you don't like, but you only discovered after, and then it's your fault. Like, you agree to those terms and services. You have to check it. Like, I'm not saying you check everything, but if it's so apparent, like, just click details. Like, it's not that difficult. If it's really not. On top of that, you have Google, so you can just Google it if you want to know. But yeah, could it make it easier? Of course it could. Sure. Dark patterns, also called dark design, is a term of 4 elements of a UI that are purposely designed to be deceptive, typically with a goal of tricking users into doing things unintentionally, buying stuff mostly. But then again, if you buy Genesis crystals, yeah, and you try to convert it to Primordials, you will have to confirm to convert it, and then you will have to confirm again whether you want to make that wish, unless you have 10 fates, in which case it doesn't ask you. But then again, I'm not sure how much research they have done on this Genshin. I'm not entirely sure. But then again, because it doesn't seem like that, because they do ask you, do you want to do this, yes or no, and you can click no. So I'm not sure how much it's tricking the user into doing things unintentionally. Because they clearly state, do you want to do this, yes or no? And if you say no, then you don't wish. So I'm not sure about that. This is the first point where I'm like, I don't see this. I don't really see this. Maybe someone who watches this might know better than I do, especially about US consumer laws and things like that. Obviously, I live in Europe. I have no clue. I've never even set foot on America's soil. So, no clue. It's a growing concern in the video game industry. In 2022, Epic Games reached a 520 million settlement, which is what I talked about earlier with the FTC over a complaint that included allegations of dark pattern usage in Fortnite. An attorney, Eric Weiss, told PC Gamer in 2024 that the game makers should be exceedingly careful with their designs because of increased FTC vigilance. But then again, in Fortnite, I think it's a bit different because V-Bucks, in a way, is similar. But again, in Fortnite, you can buy things for real life money packs. On top of that, there's all these dances and other emotes and things like that, and skins that I don't know how they weigh in comparison, because it's not a gacha element in Fortnite. You buy V-Bucks and you buy the skin or the dance or whatever it else, weapon skins or whatever it is. So I don't know how that would be doing, and also I don't know how they sue them for $520 million. Like, that's a bit bonkers. But then again, Fortnite makes so much money for Epic Games, so I don't know how I don't know how they come up with these $20 million fines. I've seen, and 520 million. Like, is it really a 500 million difference? Maybe it's because of the popularity of Fortnite. The users agreed to pay children under 16. Yeah, we read that. But either way, like, that's a bit ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know how they come up with these costs and comparisons and what really counts as the dark arts. But then again, if technically if Genshin just added when you start the game or when you first get the game, like, are you above the age of 16, yes or no? If no, do you have your parent, and if you click no, do you have your parents' consent of playing this game, yes or no? If they just added that, would that fix the issue in a way? Because then you have basically agreed to the terms. I get, in a way. Again, I don't know that much about it. But dark patterns are out there in the wider world too. In 2023, for instance, the FTC filed a complaint against Amazon for using manipulative, coercive, and deceptive user interface designs known as the dark patterns to trick consumers into signing up for automatic renewing Prime memberships. Again, I have no clue about this. I don't have where I live in Europe. Amazon is not a big thing. Like, Amazon is not really a thing. Like, the Amazon exists, but it's not really a big thing. It's starting to grow, but so yeah, I have no clue about this. So I have no comment to make about that. Under the terms of the settlement, which must be approved by the federal judge, Congo Sphere will pay 20 million fine and making the following changes to Genshin Impact, which is where we get to the changes. Children under 16 will not be allowed to purchase loot boxes without parental consent. Again, the age limit for Genshin was 12, so maybe that will change as well to 16. Maybe, but then because Counter-Strike I think is 16 years old, and Counter-Strike obviously has someone who plays a lot of Counter-Strike, by the way, I can show you. Yeah. I have a lot of hours, 4,600 hours in here, so yeah. But either way, yeah, obviously that doesn't, maybe that's why they don't have to do it, so sorry if you hear someone talking, by the way, in the background. My mom yells in the phone every time. So that will be interesting. I assume they will just put something up with like, are you above the age of 16, yes or no? Or in the US, if not, do you have your parents' consent, like I talked about earlier? I assume they will just do that. All loot boxes available for purchase with virtual currency will also be made available for purchase direct using real-life money. Again, I don't know what they mean with loot boxes, or it might be the Genesis crystals, but then again, you do purchase that for real-life money. It could be what they mean is that you can buy these monthly things of, what is it called, heroes scrolls or whatever, I can't remember, and the refined material and resins and everything like that. I think if you play Genshin, I think you know what I mean. These might be things, unless you will literally be able to buy a character with literal money, but I don't think you're gonna be able to do that, because it's not like in FIFA you can buy a card, so I don't think you're gonna do that. It'd be interesting what they mean with the loot boxes, because loot boxes can mean a lot of different things here, but I assume they mean like the actual gacha system. So do they mean that you will be able to make a temple by putting in real life money, like temple voucher, you buy a temple voucher or something like that for, I don't know how many dollars would be, $10 or whatever it would be, I don't know. Maybe it's that. I guess we will have to wait and see. Loot boxes, odds, and exchange rates for multi-tiered virtual currency will be accurately disclosed and not misrepresented. Um, Again, I don't really know what they mean by this. I assume they just mean that they would be slapped banged in the front screen like one Genesis crystal equals one Primo gem, and I don't know, this many Genesis crystals equals this amount of money. I assume they just mean that. So again, we'll just have to wait and see what multi multi-tiered virtual currency actually means. I assume they mean Genesis crystals and Primo gems, loot boxes, odds. What's mean the gacha, because the monthly pass things and things like that you can buy every month, supply crates and whatever they are, does state exactly what you get when purchasing them. So again, this must mean the gacha system. Loot box odds and exchange rates for multi will be accurately disclosed, meaning I assume they mean every 4-star as well, and every weapon will have a percentage next to them of what exactly are the odds of you receiving this thing. Then again, any personal information collected from players under the age of 13 will be deleted unless permission to keep the data is obtained from parents. Again, I have no comments on this. This is, I guess, a very good thing. I don't know what data they are keeping, but I guess it's to protect the customer, which, again, I think is a good thing, so I don't really mind this at all. Yeah, this is a good thing. Nothing to complain about. All COPPA regulations, I assume it's pronounced COPPA, by the way, but COPPA regulations, including its notice and consent requirements, will be compiled with. I assume, yeah, the COPPA regulations will be added towards the notice of the. I assume when you log into the game or enter the game for the first time, like the terms of service, I assume they will be compiled. The COPPA regulations will be compiled with that. Genshin Impact is a popular free-to-play anime-style game designed for older teens and adults, which is, I think, true. Congress here said, in a statement, I think we can bring up while we believe many of the FTC's allegations are inaccurate, we agree to this settlement because we value the trust of our community and share a commitment for transparency for our players. Under the agreement, we will introduce new age gate and parental consent protection for children and young teens, and increase our in-game disclosures around virtual currencies and rewards for players in the US. Yes, in the coming months. So this is only for the people in the United States. By the way, here's the statement. Singapore, which is, I assume the headquarters is, maybe. Congress, the distributor of Genshin Impact, reached a settlement agreed with the United States Federal Trade Commission to strengthen and increase transparency around our parental consent and virtual currencies practices, a statement from Congress below. Animation-style games and shows are well received by global audiences and players across various ages. Genshin Impact is a popular free-to-play anime-style game designed for older teens and adults. While we believe the FTC's allegations are inaccurate, which I think you should challenge this, because I don't think it's really okay if you truly believe it's wrong to say that your children is targeting your game is targeting children when it's not. But then again, if you lose this, and on top of that, the process of the whole like US court is, you're probably gonna burn another 20 million of that. It's probably just better to not fight it. We agreed to this settlement because we value the trust of our community, like Red, and share commitment to transparency to our players. Under the agreement, we will introduce new HKs like blah, 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 like we read. But either way, this video is way longer. I didn't mean to make this video that long, but I think it's interesting because I think this will also might make a change for gacha in general. Because if they target Genshin Impact, I reckon Genshin Impact is basically, in terms of the anime style gacha games, the most popular one. So maybe that's why they targeted Genshin Impact as well. But I think Star Rail might be facing something similar. I don't think CCC would, considering that it says a lot of things, maybe certain parts of it, unless they just change certain things. But again, this is in the US only. Maybe someone from the US is watching this, they know a bit better about the regulations. But then again, I don't know, they have different state rules and different things like that. I don't know how that works. But then again, hey, in the end, I think some of the FTC's claims are a bit stretched and a bit unfair, but in a way it's to protect the consumer, and for anyone that's old, it won't change anything. I think the fine is a bit, I mean, they have to do it, otherwise Genshin wouldn't change, but we'll just have to see what happens. It will be interesting. Just, at least it's not like Epic who paid 520 million, but again, Fortnite is super popular. Maybe it's because of that. The amount of money they can get from it changes. Who knows? But either way, hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you're watching this still, leave a like. Please also tell me what you think in the comments. If you live in the US, also if you don't live in the US, this won't affect you in any sort of way, actually. So, but also I'm a bit worried for Star Rail and CCC might be facing something similar unless they just change everything at the same time. So, we'll see. Again, this video was completely unscripted. I haven't written a single script for this, so yeah, sorry if any part of the video got very confusing and things like that, but hope you enjoyed, and yeah, see you guys later. Bye bye.